Hello and welcome to our FC writing guide. In this video we're just going to run through the types of writing that you're going to encounter during the exam and the parts, and at the end of the video stay tuned because there's going to be some really useful tips to help you in this part. Alright, so let's have a look at exactly what you're dealing with, shall we? The facts. What are the facts about this exam? Well, the good news or the bad news, depending on how you want to see it, is you have two writings to do. Part 1, which is a compulsory essay, which basically means you have to do this. You have no choice. So they'll give you an essay question and you've got to write an essay. Part 2. Now, this is where things get a lot more interesting, okay? So what they're going to give you is 4 different options here, so 2, 3, 4, and 5, and there's a mixture of different writings. Again, we're going to have more on this in a minute, and you can actually choose what you want to do, which is really good. And again, I'll talk about this more in just a little moment. You get 1 hour, 20 minutes to do these writings. And this is one thing I like about this exam, because this is plenty of time. That gives you 40 minutes per writing, which gives you plenty of time to organize your ideas, to make, to edit your work, and to actually get things down on paper. Nice time limit. And finally, for each composition, you're going to need you have to write 140 to 190 words. Now this is very important. If they say between 140 words and 190 words, they mean it. And it's not too much. So you should kind of have an idea of how much in your writing this is. For some people it's like 3/4 of a page. For other people it's 2 sides, depending on how big your handwriting is. And last but not least, you have to write in pen, and we'll have more on that later. So let's have a look very quickly at the essay. Alright, so you're going to get something that looks a little like this. You will get a question like this, as I said. In your English class, you have been talking about the environment. Now your teacher has asked you to write an essay on the topic. Write an essay using all the notes and giving reasons for your answer. And you'll see something that looks a little like this. What can individuals do to be more environmentally friendly? Write about recycling, saving energy, and your own idea. Alright, so they do guide you a lot. So this is you have to make sure you read the question carefully, underline exactly what you've got to talk about. So what can individuals, us, the people, do to about these things to be environmentally friendly? Yeah, recycling, saving energy. So recycling, you could say, obviously use recycling facilities, take your things to recycling bins, recycle your plastic, the paper, the aluminium, and recycle basically as much as we can, separate everything out. For saving energy, use energy efficient light bulbs, turn off lights when we're not using them, don't leave TVs and computers on standby mode, things like that. And then you've got your own idea, and this is where students find it a little bit tricky and can sometimes go a little bit wrong. You have to make sure your idea is on line with the question. So for this one, for example, you could say use public transport. Perhaps, or saving water, something like that. Okay, and if you're interested in writing essays, I highly suggest you check out our essay writing guide, which will pop up just here, and you can go and watch a video on that, which will guide you through how to write an essay step by step. And there'll probably be a special one actually for the FC, which I'll release shortly as well. So check out those videos. Anyway, let's have a look at part 2, shall we? So as I said, this is where it gets really interesting, and they give you an option. So you may have the choice of writing. So as I said, you've got a choice of 4 things, and as you'll see here, there's more than 4. and I'll talk about this in a minute. So first of all, very common, and you'll probably have one of these, an email or a letter. Email, because no one writes letters anymore, let's face it, which may be informal or formal, and this is extremely important at FC. You have to watch your formality, and if you don't know much about formality, again, there's another video coming out, so you should really subscribe and get all these videos, because they're going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks or so. A review, I love reviews. Okay, so a review about a book, a magazine, a restaurant, something like this, computer game if you're really lucky. An article, they love articles. It could be a descriptive article about a place, or an article about your opinion, something like this. A story, there's lots of you out there that love stories. A question on a set text. Now, every year Cambridge will assign a book, like Macbeth or something like this, usually quite classical, that you can read, and if you've read this book, you can answer this question. Now, listen to what I just said. If you've read the book, you can answer this question. Lots of students make the mistake of, oh yes, I've seen the film, I haven't read the book, but I've seen the film, so I can do this question. No, you can't. If you've read the book, you can do this question. In fact, make sure you've read the book with your teacher, kind of thing, then you can do the question. And finally, in the normal FC exam, in other words, not the one for schools, you might also be asked to write a report. So you see, and you've just got to pick, you've got 4 questions, you won't get all of these, so, and this is where the problem lies. You may love writing a story, like for example last year in the FC, my students loved writing stories, and they came out of the exam and went, oh mister, but they never gave us a story, and they were really upset by it. And you know, instead they had a letter, review and an article. That's life. Alright, so you can't just specialize in writing one of these things. You have to practice writing several of these things. Yeah? Alright, so let's get to the real good stuff, shall we? The tips. Stay within the word limit. Now, I've kind of talked about this before, okay? Because if they say 140 to 190, as I said, that's exactly what they mean. If you write less than 140, it's a disaster. You're going to lose a lot of marks because you haven't followed the instructions. Some of my other students have problems because they're so good at writing, they like writing 250 odd words. And again, that's too much. If you go over 190 words, maybe you write 200, that's fine. But don't write 250 to 300 words, because you're spending too much time on it. The more you write, the more likely you are to go off topic, and at the end of the day the examiner's not going to mark those extra words anyway, so essentially you're wasting your time. Alright, so get used to writing a composition in 140 to 190 words. Next one, plan and organize your work. Now again, I can't stress this enough. A lot of people, they go into the exam, they know they've got 2 writings to do, and as soon as they say, okay, turn over your papers, they read their question, they choose it, and off they go, they start writing. You've got time for each of these writings. Spend 4 to 5 minutes thinking about the question, thinking about formality, thinking about ideas, brainstorming, and actually planning what you're going to say in each part of your writing, and then start writing. Because you can't sit there putting arrows everywhere and things like this. You're going to lose a lot of marks. And the examiner, the Cambridge examiners are highly trained. They're going to know if you have organized your work or you've just gone and just written everything down. Yeah, you get marks for this. Okay, so make sure you're planning. Make sure your handwriting is legible. Now, some of you out there have bad handwriting. What are you going to do about it? You've just got to maybe slow down a little bit, because the examiner will not be pleased if he gets this piece of you know, paper and you're writing like a drunken spider everywhere and he can't read anything, it's definitely going to make a bad impression, and at the end of the day he's not going to spend time going, what's he saying here, what's this, there's going to be a line through it. So it's your responsibility, and they do tell you this in instructions, make sure your handwriting is legible. Which brings me to another good tip. Because you're writing in pen, a lot of people have this horrible habit when they make a mistake, they go, you know, and cross it out. So the paper is covered in all these horrible crossouts. All you need to do is put a line through it. Yeah, and it looks much neater and much better, because as far as I'm aware, you're not allowed Tipex or Blanco in the exam. But I would check that with your teacher, but I'm 99.9% sure. Alright, so handwriting and how your paper looks is very important. Manage your time. As I said, you've got lots of time. You have, 80 minutes, which means you've got 40 minutes for each of these essays. So take your time, plan and get everything down. Yeah? And if you have extra time, always check over your compositions when you finish. So when you finished one, start the second one. When you finish the second one, then you go back and check both. Check your grammar, check your spelling, because everybody, even me, a native speaker, makes mistakes when they're writing, yeah, and they're under time and they're under a little bit of stress and pressure. Of course we make mistakes, it's only human. So try and find these mistakes. The more you correct them, the higher your marks are going to be. Yeah? Okay, so thank you very, very much for watching. As I said, stay tuned, subscribe. There's going to be loads of FC videos coming out. So if you want to catch the action as it happens, join us here on Real English. That's all for now. Good luck in your exams. Bye.